Welcome to the Shingo podcast, where we follow the real journeys, the wins, the setbacks, the hard lessons of those who believe excellence isn't a destination, but a way of life. And with me today, we're really lucky to have a really good friend of mine, Ravi Uppal, and we'll be digging into a question that is hopefully going to stimulate a lot more discussion between us. It's if lean thinking works so well, why aren't more organizations doing it? And how does the Shingo model fit into that answer? So joining us today, as I mentioned, is Ravi Uppal. He currently works as an AI ML process engineer at Apple. He's got dozens of years of experience in lean and process engineering and management systems. Ravi, welcome. And before we dive in, why don't you tell us just a little bit more about your current role and what kind of brought you into this role?
Thanks for having me, Peter. My current role is with Apple. I work in process improvement and developing tools for the data operations for Siri. So we are building processes that improve the data collection that feeds into the AI ML of all of Apple.
Well, thank you. So you worked across a lot of different industries. Mm-hmm. Name some of those industries that you worked in.
So I started in manufacturing as a design engineer. That's where I first was introduced to the concepts of lean thinking and improving the layout, the efficiencies within a factory. From there, I did like a complete switch and went to healthcare, which was a totally different industry and a totally different way of approaching lean. From there, I went to financial services. So that was again like a different industry. But one of the things that you learn when you're doing this kind of work is the principles and the concepts stay the same, even if the work changes. That these principles are universal and can be applied across industries. And then when from financial services, I went into consumer electronics or the AI ML space now. So that's been my journey so far.
I love it. So seeing all those different uses of the lean tools, uses of some of the Shingo principles being applied in those organizations, why do you think, from your perspective, lean and Shingo kind of thinking and principles hasn't taken a hold more broadly? Really kind of, if you've worked in some large organizations, especially in large organizations.
I think that maybe it's not called lean or it's not called Shingo principles, but the thought process and the idea of documenting processes, applying some of those philosophies, improving things, designing things, exists in every company that I have come across. Maybe every is kind of like a bold term, but most of the industries and most of the companies that I have interacted with, they are doing some element of improving processes, documenting processes. They might not call it lean, they might not call it Shingo, but there is some element of that. And even in industries like, as you would know, right, like we have worked in a couple of industries where there was a lean program set up and then the program went away. But there was something else that took its place, that they might be still doing process control assessment or risk assessment. They're applying the same concepts of reducing and mitigating risk or process improvement, but they just might not call it lean. So I don't feel that this hasn't taken on. I just feel that there are elements of it that everybody is using. Mm-hmm. They might not just call it lean, but the thought process still exists, the principles still exist, and they might be doing components of it, not like a whole transformation, but their elements always exist. I don't think I've come across any company that says, we are perfect and we're not improving our processes. So I would think of it that way.
Interesting. So with that in mind, how has your understanding of the Shingo model and lean principles and some of what we've been talking about at this conference help you in those organizations that may not completely recognize some of those?
So I think like the other thing is when I worked in healthcare, we were not allowed to use a lot of lean jargon.
Okay.
We had to practice some of these concepts and principles and had to translate them into English. So our CEO was very against, please don't use Japanese terms, please don't use any of this language. So we had the same concepts and same principles, but just transferred or in the language that healthcare people would understand. Because one of the pushbacks they used to have, and I don't know if you've heard this, we don't make widgets. We help people. We are dealing with people. So that used to be their pushback. That like, don't tell me about this car industry. Right? Like, I don't want to know about making cars. We are here taking care of people, and these are humans. So we had to adjust, and we had to talk to them in their language and explain to them that you are taking care, but there are elements of these methodologies and these thought processes that you can apply here. So when I started in healthcare, we worked with Simpler, and their methodology was very much into, can we show impact and can we show improvement? Can we show improvement in results? Like, can we reduce cost? Can we reduce waiting times? So what impacts the patient, and can we show that to the leadership straight away? So that is how I was exposed to Lean, and I can see the benefit of that. But then when I went to the financial industry, we approached it with a very different mindset, which was around a cultural change, about behaviors, about applying Shingo principles. So that was like another aha moment for me, that like, this is a very different way to apply Lean. And one of the things that we did at that financial company was try to do both then, right? Like, we redesigned the management system, that can we do behavioral change, but also process change? Can we show both improvements in both aspects?
I love that. So speaking about frameworks, you mentioned a couple. Do you see the Shingo model as something different than the Lean framework? How do you explain that to kind of the average person, or maybe even someone that you're going in to work with in an organization that doesn't understand either of them?
So to me, when I was introduced to the Shingo model, that gave me the why behind a lot of the things that we were doing without knowing the why. We were applying things, we were doing things, and I couldn't explain why. And that was the big shift in my journey, that now I have like a set of things that I can tie all of these things to. So the tools can then be tied back to some principles. The systems can be tied back to some principles. So there was grounding in why are we doing some of these things. So even though I was in that healthcare environment for 7 years doing rapid improvement events, projects, we didn't have that, why are we doing some of this? We just went out and did it, and it showed impact, and everybody loved it, and it was great. But when I came to, the Shingo principles, it tied it all back to that, like, okay, now the light bulb has gone, and now I can explain some of these things that, hey, we are doing this for this reason. Like, we are improving this process because customers are our focus, right? Like, the patient is at the center of our journey, right? Like, so those kind of concepts then made sense to me.
So you've worked in a lot of complex environments. Is there something that is like a behavior that you see in leadership, something that really helps make some of this practice that we've been talking about stick? What is it that you look for in leaders that you would like to see more in leaders to help make that stick?
That's a very interesting question, because one of the elements, or one of the things that we did do, as you would know, we were asked to coach a lot of leaders. And when you're doing that, like, you come across a wide variety of leaders that are bought in, leaders that are on the fence, and then leaders that are, hey, I became a leader without doing any of this. I have excelled in my career. I don't need any of this. So we worked with that whole spectrum. But I think, like, the leaders that buy into this, and this is definitely my experience with our journey, like, with the company we worked at, was leaders that buy into it have a little bit of a sense of humility. They lead with humility. It goes back to that principle that, like, we are humble enough to see that things might be changing. They are learners. They are willing to learn new things. And then that goes back to the second principle, which is, like, respect every individual. So those two components, and that's why I think, like, those are the foundational principles, right? Like, once they exist, we can do the other stuff. And you would see leaders that have the two elements and are willing to learn, which would be the ones that would embrace this methodology right away. For others, I think you have to think of it as a journey. You have to think of it as, you have to build relationships, you have to build trust. And I saw you do that very well in certain instances where this was not welcomed. And I definitely learned from that experience that even in environments where leaders push back, you have to start with building that trust, building that relationship. Take it as a journey that, like, I'm not going to hit a home run every day, but I can do small wins. I can show them how this helps their business. And no leader would refuse that then.
I love that. I love that. Thanks. That's a great story. And, we have a lot of folks that are maybe practitioners trying to do what you've been doing for the last few years and are struggling. What advice do you give, like a practitioner in this space trying to help an organization move forward on their transformation journey, leveraging the Shingo model as kind of a model to help them think about how they're approaching it? What advice? Where do they start? What would you tell that group of people out there?
So I think of that question in couple of ways. One might be, do you have the leadership buy-in? And is there a initiative or a top-down initiative to go deploy this? Now, if you have that situation, it's going to be much easier. Mm-hmm. The other thing that can happen is you are hired into a company and maybe your boss or somebody liked or saw something and said, hey, we want to try this thing. And then you have to go sell this idea to everybody else. So those are two very different situations. So I've worked in both of them. But if you're in the second one, which is the more challenging situation where you have to now go sell it, I think like a combination, like we talked about, right? Like a combination of principles and behaviors, but also process improvement would go a long way, because you have to show them early wins. And with process improvement, you can show them, hey, we improved this process. Look at the efficiency gains or whatever gain was accomplished, and you can talk about that. But also think about it as a journey, right? That you have to bring people along with this journey. So you will have good days, you will have bad days. Take it as they come, but think of this as a journey, that this is not going to be a 6-month or a year-long thing. Think of the long term. And with that, get the early adopters, get them going, build relationships. If somebody lets you play with their processes, welcomes you and is giving you resources, like take advantage of that and then showcase that. Sell it, showcase it, talk to people about, hey, this is what we've done. Get your leaders to go to other areas. And we did this very successfully too when we had like model cells. Show the model cells to everybody, like if you have that win. So that's how I would think about it, but take baby steps. Like think of it as a small step every day in the right direction.
Love it. Well, Ravi, thank you. Great advice. Really appreciate having some time with you on the Shingo podcast today. Again, thank you for joining us, and please like and subscribe. Take care.